Hi, I'm Jim Pence, and I'm going to be walking you through the process of doing a blacklight picture. This is an invisible blacklight picture drawn with invisible fluorescent chalk. I already did the background, as you can see, and now I'm turning my white lights down. When I first start a blacklight picture, I will not turn the whites completely out because I want to make sure when I'm positioning whatever it is I'm drawing that I'm staying only in the white. So, and once the light is out, it's very difficult to tell what is white chalk and what isn't. So for right now, I'm getting ready to work on drawing a butterfly among some flowers. You can see I'm working from a photograph, a reference photograph of a blacklight picture. It just helps me move a little faster a lot of times when I do a picture like this to be working from something. This particular butterfly is what I would call a stylized butterfly. It doesn't, it's not strictly speaking accurate, but still fun to draw. What I just did there with my fingers was measuring to make sure that I got the butterfly's wings about the same size on both sides. And what I'm using right now, even though it doesn't really show up in this particular color, I'm using a stick of purple chalk. It's fairly dark. It really doesn't look purple. It actually has kind of a whitish green look in the video, but because it really doesn't show up very brightly, it is great for outlining a picture and getting started. And again, here it's actually showing up much brighter than it did in real life as I was drawing it. Okay, I've got the butterfly's wings positioned. I've got the body in there. And now I'm just doing a little bit of follow-up here, finishing out the top wings and the bottom wings, and getting everything positioned. Now I also have a number of flowers that I'm going to draw, so that's what I'm starting with right there. The little half circle was the center of a daisy, and those are the flowers that I'm including in this particular picture. To draw the petals, I'm just doing some very simple shapes. No great skill involved in drawing these particular shapes, but I'm trying to get it laid out. I lay out some big ones and then underneath some smaller ones. Not trying to have everything just perfect or just so. At this point, I'm just doing some positioning. And you'll see I'm positioning the centers of the flowers first, doing small circles where the yellow part of the daisy will be. And then I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to continue drawing the petals once I have the centers of the flowers drawn in. Now I believe, beginning the process of drawing those petals. And so we're going to skip forward a little bit because it's pretty much the same thing all the way through at this point, is just repeating those flower petal shapes in a circular arrangement. And so let's pause and skip forward a little bit. All right, now we've got the flowers all drawn in. And again, I'm still at this point, up to this point, have been just sketching in purple chalk. Now I've got orange chalk. Again, because of the way the video works, a lot of the colors may not look quite the same way that they would live. But I'm outlining again, but this time as I outline the wings, I'm going into each of the wings and drawing some circular oval shapes, just some shapes that are going to be representative. This is sort of a monarch butterfly, but again, not strictly speaking in terms of actual reality. This is a stylized butterfly, so I'm not worried about getting every single detail correct. I want to create the image of a butterfly, so I have again drawn the shapes. Now I'm filling in each one of those shapes just like that, and being sure to leave spaces between them so that you can see the black area between the shapes. Can't think of a good way to describe it, but the nice thing with black light chalk is you don't need a color black. You just use the background that you're working with, and wherever you don't put color, that's what's going to be black or dark. So that's one of the challenges of working with blacklight chalk, is it's pretty much the opposite. Normally when we draw with chalk, we're drawing on a light surface, or when you draw with pencils or whatever. Here we're drawing on pretty much a black surface. Again, the way the video is picking it up is making it look lighter than it really is. It's really pretty dark in there, and even though you can see the clouds fairly well, as I'm working under them, I really can't see anywhere near that amount of detail. Just continuing to check with my reference picture and working on adding the circles, so that, or really the oval shapes, so that I can kind of fill out the butterfly's wings. And we're going to skip forward just a little bit again, so we can move into the next phase of drawing this blacklight butterfly. All right, I've got all the circles and shapes in, and have just about wrapped up the butterfly's wings. I'm putting some really tiny shapes in there now. If you look at a monarch butterfly, there are usually some white spaces or little white dots around. I don't put in too many of those details, but just a few. I'm working on the butterfly's body, and again, not putting just a ton of detail in. As my hand moves away, what I'm doing is just adding a little shading to one side of the body, and gently pulling that across. I'm using sort of some short lines there in the lower half of the body, and that's pretty much it right now. Let's see what kind of chalk I'm picking up here. Yeah, that should be a stick of white, and I said I was putting in the white dots earlier. I wasn't. I was doing something else. But here are the white dots that you'll sometimes see around the edge of a butterfly's wings. I'm just going to fill in those dark spaces. Main thing with fine detail, particularly in a blacklight picture, is if you're drawing for a large audience and a fairly big auditorium, a lot of the fine detail is lost on them. They just can't see it more than about 15 to 20 feet away from your easel. So I try not to just obsess over every tiny detail. I like to have a good realistic feel to what I'm drawing, but absolute fine detail, unless I know I'm in a very small room where everybody will see all that detail, it's for the most part a lot of work that that nobody just ever gets to see, unless after the service or something they come up and look closely at the picture. And sometimes they do, but not everybody does. Okay, I added a little bit of white in on the body there, I think, just to give it a little bit more highlighting. And the butterfly is pretty much done. Now, what I'm doing here, I'm turning my bright lights back on, and that went real fast, but what I did at that moment was just to check and make sure that I couldn't see the outline of the butterfly or anything like that when the white lights were on. I'll usually check a picture a couple of times that way to make sure, because if I'm drawing it in such a way that the lines are visible, then I need to change it before I get so far along that I have to just redo the whole picture. All right, I'm starting to draw the flower petals. Very easy, just again using white chalk, and I'm just coming in and kind of filling in, not filling in the entire petal, and I'm trying to use a lighter touch at certain points so that it's not just a flat white. I'm not sure that the camera will pick up some of the nuances of that shading. Everything's kind of showing up pretty bright, but all I'm doing is going around and filling in. And again, I tend to fill in on one side, leave the other side dark, and then I'll go in with my finger and blend slightly just to soften the edges between the dark and the light. That's what I'm doing right there. And there you have a part of a daisy. Anyway, I haven't put the yellow part in yet, and I think that's about what I'm going to do right there. Now, when I draw in the little yellow center part of the daisy, I don't know what the technical term is for it, but when I do that, I instead of just drawing it, I'm kind of stippling it in. It means I'm using sort of a corner of the chalk and lightly tapping it in so that it'll have more of a realistic look to it. And I think I go on from that point. Since I have the yellow in my hand at that point, I'm going to go ahead and just color in the rest of the centers of the daisies. And again, with each one, you can't really see the fine detail, but there's a fair amount of the dark background showing through on each of those, so that they don't just look like a flat yellow color. And one thing with the daisies, if you'll notice, at least one of them, or really two, I've drawn in at a slightly different angle so that they're not all just, looking you straight head on. Now I'm going to go through and complete the rest of the flowers, and so rather than make you watch that entire process, just remember, again, I've already got it sketched in lightly in purple chalk. Now I'm just going around and outlining the shapes of the flower petals, and next I will go in with straight white chalk and we'll overlay at least half of each one. The other half I leave dark, and then we'll use my finger to go in and blend and soften that. So let's skip forward a little bit and finish up these daisies. All right, the daisies are done. I wish I could draw that fast in real life. It would speed up my work considerably. Well, the last thing that I'm going to do now, and I don't always do this, but I'm going to come in with light blue chalk and sort of draw, I don't know if you would call it sky, just sort of lightening the background all the way around. So I'm taking that chalk and just going around the outer parts of the shape. And again, there's no reason or rhyme or any particular time when it's best or not best to do it. It just sort of what I feel like at the time. If I want to just have something that's highlighting, one thing it does allow me to do, as you saw what I just did there, is to allow a little extra shadowing in areas where I don't draw up close to the daisies. Then it kind of gives the effect of a shadow. But I like it sometimes too. It just sort of sets the whole drawing off. So the process of drawing in the sky is simply, again, taking a light blue, and all I'm doing is going around and pretty much covering the general outside area of the butterfly and cluster of daisies. Now, one thing when you're working with invisible fluorescent chalk like this, I don't hardly put any pressure at all on the chalk. If you watch the video where I demonstrated how to create the background here, you will know that I put in a lot of white chalk, and that white chalk actually serves as a lubricant in a sense, because when I get my black light chalk out and draw over like I am here, even though I'm covering a very large area, I'm using very little chalk. You'd be surprised how little I use. That's when you price blacklight chalk, it is expensive, but the one thing that you always want to keep in mind is that we work with very tiny chunks of that, and a little goes a long way. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my finger and go in and sort of feather the edges a little bit. Again, I don't want to overwork it. The more you do what I'm doing right there, the more you dull the chalk, and so you want to be careful not to just go in and soften too much. The other thing that can happen when I'm going in and softening like that is I can actually, by smoothing out that exterior, that perimeter, I guess you would call it, with my finger, I can actually draw attention to the blacklight picture itself, because the chalk strokes are different than what I'm doing right there. It's wherever I use my finger, it's a lot smoother than where the butterfly and the flowers would be. So it's actually possible to make the blacklight picture somewhat discernible if you go in and do what I'm doing right there too much. I do like to do a little bit of softening and feathering. My hands are very, very light. The pressure is very, very light. I'm just barely touching the paper as I do this. Just to kind of use discretion when you do that. On this video, it's kind of almost the background color there is kind of taking on a greenish tint. It's really more of a bluish white. It's a light blue, but it doesn't have quite the green tint that is showing up, at least on my monitor here right now. Picture is almost done. I have gone through and drawn in the butterfly, the flowers, the fine detail. One fine detail I didn't include there that you wouldn't be able to see anyway, but I used some regular white chalk to add some antenna right on the end of the butterfly's head. You can see that when you're actually there, but you can't see it in the video. Okay, just doing a little touch-up. What I'm doing there is taking a different shade of yellow and adding in, I probably used a gold color for the center of the flowers originally. This is a brighter yellow that I'm coming in with and highlighting just to, again, get a little variety in the color. And that's pretty much it. There's not much more in the way of detail that I would do with this picture. Very simple blacklight, and yet it really has a very nice message to it. When I draw this particular picture, you can talk about being born again. In fact, the visible drawing that I'm working up to go with it we'll have a picture of a chrysalis, and so the the theme of dying and being raised again comes back in there, or being born again. Couple different messages. Now what I'm doing here is, again, I'm using a little different shade of orange to go in and add just a little variety into the butterfly's wings. I have some invisible fluorescent crayon that I work with occasionally. It depends on the picture that I'm doing, but I can actually go in and add a lot more fine detail with the crayon if I want to. I have to actually spray the picture before I do that. But for this particular picture, I don't, because again, the fine detail just isn't really particularly necessary. I have gone through everything. I am looking for something. I've got my chalk box there, so I did this drawing a couple weeks ago, so I don't remember exactly what it was that I was trying to find, but I'll tell you as soon as I get it out. That particular box is kind of tricky. I can never remember how to open it, but I think I've got it open there. No, I haven't. Tripped up by a technicality. There, it opened up. All right, let's see what I've got there. Still rooting around looking for a particular stick of chalk, and I found it. Now I got to see what it is that I'm doing. My hand is in the way, so I don't know. I think I was okay. I'm doing the same thing I was doing with the flowers and the butterfly. I've got a little different shade of white. There are several varieties, several different colors and shades of white, and I'm going in to just add a few highlights, and it just makes the drawing that much prettier if you have some variety and a little bit more in the way of color, so everything just doesn't look flat. So I'm going in again. Always think when you're drawing like this, keep in mind where your light source is. I'm left-handed, and so my light source almost always ends up being sort of coming from the right or upper right, and it's just because it's natural for me to highlight on that side. But you don't really have to. I mean, you can highlight wherever and however you want to. Well, that is going to pretty much wrap it up for this drawing. If you don't have blacklight chalk, you can do this picture or something similar by just using pastels on black paper. And you can get some black pastel paper, black construction paper, if you will, and you can do pretty much the same drawing. I'm turning the bright lights on now, make sure that I can't see my picture, and it is definitely invisible. And that's the exciting thing of blacklight and chalk art. Well, thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon with another video.